This study will explore whether there's any connection between vaccine mandates and the mark of the beast. First, we'll start with an end-time update. In August 2021, the Italian government made the green vaccine pass a requirement to visit public places, like restaurants and bars. Then they made it compulsory for teachers and other public workers. Then later in September 2021, Italy became the first European country to make a vaccine certificate a requirement for all workers nationwide when it approved a plan to make the COVID Green Pass certificate mandatory for all workers. Even though there had been protests by some, the Italian Senate overwhelmingly supported the measure, with 189 voting for it and only 32 against and 2 abstentions. The Italian health minister announced, "We are extending the obligation of the Green Pass to the entire world of work, public and private." By October 15, 2021, any Italian employee who showed up to work without a green passport would be fined around $1,000. As these kinds of sweeping requirements are enforced, many have been asking an important question. Is the vaccine mandate the mark of the beast? It does seem that almost daily we see the implementation of more and more mandates, both at the state and federal levels in the USA, as well as around the world. These kinds of mandates affect many by threatening their ability to buy and sell. This requirement in Italy for COVID health passes for all workers is just one more movement impacting people's ability to buy and sell. So are we seeing the mark of the beast as foretold in the Bible? Hundreds of people who view the online videos on the website preparingforthettimeoftrouble.com have taken advantage of being added to the End Time Update email list. These people periodically receive an email sharing about some event or news item that seems to have some connection to end-time Bible prophecy. One of these end-time update readers asked if the vaccine mandates are the mark of the beast. It is the purpose of this study to attempt to shed light on this question. It seems that the majority of people have heard of the mark of the beast in one form or another. The mark of the beast and 666 are popular themes for heavy metal rock bands such as Iron Maiden. There's even a radio station, Smudge's Route 666, that is dedicated to heavy metal 666 music. The number 666 even shows up on clothing, making light of this by showing the words, 666 ways that I love you. Some speculate that it is a computer chip that would be embedded in a person's hand. Others believe that barcodes on packages are the mark of the beast. Some even liked to link wearing a red Donald Trump hat to the mark of the beast. The familiar-looking red Make America Great hat is captioned with the words, "And they shall wear the mark of the beast on their foreheads." Recently, with the worldwide impact of COVID pandemic, many have assumed that vaccine passports are the mark of the beast. One thing is for sure, according to the Bible, there will be the mark of the beast, and it's coming, possibly very soon. Let's not follow popular interpretations of what the mark of the beast is, but go to the source, the Bible. All of this hype about the mark of the beast has its roots in the 13th chapter of the book of Revelation. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him power, and his seat, and his great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. This is the first part of the description of the first beast of Revelation 13. The last part of that description states, "And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world." Earlier in the book of Revelation, the history of the Christian church from Pentecost down through the return of Jesus is exemplified in a sequence of the 7 churches. While the early Christian church was pure and successful in, quote, turning the world upside down, according to Acts 17:6, the following periods of the 7 churches saw the beginnings of compromise and false teachings creeping into the church. Revelation 2 verses 8 and 9 warned, "And unto the angel of the church of Smyrna write, These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive," talking about Jesus. "I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say that they are Jews, and they are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan." Paul had warned of the coming of a man of sin who would corrupt much of the church. 2 Thessalonians 2, 3, and 4 says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is God, and that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." This era of power struggle within the church eventually resulted in a split, and the papal leadership of the church, quote, made war against the saints, as the Bible says. This was prophesied in both Daniel 7:21 and Revelation 13:7. This time period of persecution is historically known as the Dark Ages. The book History of Romanism, printed in 1871, states that, "From the birth of popery, it is estimated by careful and credible historians that more than 50 million of the human family have been slaughtered for the crime of heresy by the poperish persecutors. An average of more than 40,000 religious murders for every year of the existence of popery." By comparison, according to the United States Holocaust Museum, it says the Holocaust was the systematic state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. It is evident that the persecutions by the Catholic Church on Bible-believing Christians resulted in 8 times as many people killed as were in the Holocaust. The Waldensians, as an example, were persecuted as heretics in the 12th century onwards and were almost annihilated by the 17th century. It's beyond the scope of our study here about the mark of the beast to go in depth about this time period of history represented by the first beast of Revelation 13. But for more detailed studies on this topic, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com and view Part 79, which is entitled War Against the Saints, and Part 89, which is titled They Stood Upon Their Feet. You will find that the Bible prophecies about the first beast and the 1260 years of persecution during the Dark Ages from Daniel 7 and 12, as well as Revelation 11, 12, and 13, give a great deal of detail. Revelation 11:3 says, "And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses," the Old and New Testament, "and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, or 1260 years, clothed in sackcloth." Revelation 13:3 says, "And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death." Thus ended this time of the persecuting power of the papal system during the Dark Ages. But Revelation 13:7 further explains that this deadly wound would heal. We have seen historically how the power and influence of the Catholic Church has continually increased over the years. Now the Pope is considered by many in the world to be the moral leader for mankind. Even in Protestant America, we now see the majority of the Supreme Court judges as Jesuit trained, and now we have an openly Catholic president. While the first beast of Revelation 13 proves to be the papal system with its many substitutes for God's true worship, there is in the second beast in Revelation 13 from which we find the mark of the beast and 666. The second beast is introduced in Revelation 13, verses 11 and 12, which read, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. He exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and he caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." The later details in the description of this second beast are that it was innocent like a lamb, but would eventually speak like a dragon. Many Bible students see in this prophecy the founding of America in the New World, established under biblical principles. We have seen references to this being a God-fearing country in many things, including the Pledge of Allegiance, which says, "One nation under God." "And in God we trust" is displayed on our money. But the prophecy of Revelation 13 says this will change. This shift in America is described in verses 16 and 17. "And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." So this second beast will change from being an innocent, God-fearing nation to one demanding compliance to national mandates. These mandates will result in curtailing the ability to buy and sell for those who refuse to comply. It is important to note that the mark of the beast comes in one of 2 forms: on the forehead or on the right hand. 2 things stand out further. It is the right hand and not the left hand. And it is not on the forehead and the right hand, but the forehead or the right hand. Why do you think that distinction is made? To many students of the Bible, it wasn't until recently with the COVID mandates that the meaning of this distinction has become clear. Now that we have all experienced limitations imposed to us due to the COVID pandemic. It makes it easy to see what is indicated by the forehead or the hand. One example can be observed at Costco warehouse stores, where masks are required. Those who comply but do not believe in the need for masks only wear the mask in the store as required. Then they rip it off immediately upon exiting. This is symbolized by the mark in the hand. They do it in spite of not believing it. I call this compliance of convenience. Others leave Costco and keep wearing the mask, at times even while driving alone in their car. This would be an example of the mark on the forehead. They do it because they believe it. Compliance of conviction. It does seem that almost daily we see the implementation of more and more mandates, such as wearing masks in Costco, as well as vaccine mandates around the world. Not complying with these kinds of mandates affect many to the realm of threatening their ability to earn a living and the ability to buy or sell. So are we seeing the mark of the beast as foretold in the Bible? Let's look closer at the description of the mark of the beast in Revelation 13. And he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. Even though some want to equate the issue of the vaccine mandates as being the mark of the beast, it doesn't fit the biblical criteria. We see from this prophecy that the mark of the beast is all about worship. Revelation 14 tells about 3 angels giving important messages to the world in the end times. The third angel's message warns about the mark of the beast. If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. Revelation 14, 9 and 10. Here again, the issue is about worship. For further in-depth studies on this topic, view Part 3 and Part 32 in Preparing for the Time of Trouble. We see from Revelation 13:12 that this second beast, the United States, will eventually be as powerful as the papal system was during the Dark Ages. Also notice that the second beast will pressure people to worship the papal system. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and he caused the earth and them that dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Revelation 13:12. Verse 17 further explains, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. So if the mark of the beast is not about vaccines, because it's not about worship, what is the mark that has to do with worship? According to the Catholic Church itself, Sunday worship is its mark. The September 1, 1923 issue of Catholic Reader clearly stated that Sunday is our mark of authority. The Church is above the Bible, and this transference of the Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. H.F. Thomas, Chancellor of Cardinal Gibbons, further verified this by saying, of course the Catholic Church claims that the change of Saturday to Sunday was her act, and the act is the mark of her ecclesiastical authority in religious things. So the mark of the beast has to do with worship. The first beast of Revelation 13 has clearly been seen to shown to be the papal system, and its mark was changing the seventh-day Sabbath to Sunday. Most Christians in Protestant America have now been worshiping God on Sundays as the Lord's Day. We are now seeing an ever-increasing push for unity between the Protestant churches in America and the Catholic Church, with Sunday worship being the common thread. With Sunday worship being the mark of the beast, what is the mark of God's true worship? God's identifying mark is in the heart of the Ten Commandments, the only thing that God gave to man in his own handwriting. The fourth commandment says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it." It's important to notice that when God created the seventh-day Sabbath, it was a memorial of God being the Creator, and that the Sabbath was a weekly birthday to remind us that the Sabbath was blessed and made holy. If the mark of the beast is in the forehead or in the right hand, where would God's mark be? Revelation 7, 1-3 says, "And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads." God's identifying mark is to be on the forehead of those who are sealed. So can it be a compliance of convenience or conviction? There is no one that will accept God's mark, his seal, on their hand. This is because there will be overwhelming pressure to accept the mark of the beast, even under penalty of death. Therefore, no one will reject the mark of the beast out of convenience. Only those who are convicted to not take the mark of the beast will be sealed by God. A compliance of conviction. Our original question then must be answered. Based on the Bible, are vaccine mandates the mark of the beast? It would appear that it is not yet, because it's not a matter of worship. So if the vaccine mandates are not the mark of the beast, what can we learn from them now? Jesus did say that a pandemic, such as COVID, would be a sign that we're in the end times. In Matthew 24:7, Jesus prophesied, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places." Now notice the word pestilences. This is one of the signs of the end. The first definition of pestilence in Webster's dictionary is a contagious or infectious epidemic disease that is virulent and devastating. Sounds like COVID. So what is the significance with what we're seeing with mandates at state and federal levels that in many cases result in losing employment and to some degree the ability to buy and sell? It seems that we are living in unprecedented times. There are events happening now that have worldwide implications. It appears that we are nearing the time when our choices about the mark of the beast will have eternal consequences. It would seem that what we are experiencing with our global pandemic and the impact that it has on many individuals' lives is just a wake-up call to each of us, and possibly a practice run for the future, the final test of the mark of the beast.